right. Hey, I'm going to show you guys how to check on the value of a listing. So, very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get to the house one way or the other. So, I'm going to check first to see if it's ever been listed. And so, I'm going to type in an address 8052 Lockwood. Okay, let's see what we get. All right, 8052, perfect. That's the house. So I'm going to click the BLC, take a look at it. Oh, look at that. I'm already in the flood map. I'm in the listing now. This is what you're going to pop up to. You can obviously use these tabs. I was wanted to look at the flood map. So it's in X, but I knew this neighborhood a second ago. Notice some of the flood zones back here. I sold a house back in here one time in the orange, or sorry, that yellow, which is 500, means doesn't need insurance, but could get insurance. X means no worries. So anyway, well, we know it's not in the flood zone now. Parcel map history, whatever. So anyway, I'm on the listing. So this is the house. I'm going to look at the photos real quick. Okay, outdated, but clean cut. Obviously, you can tell I can move pretty quick. Unfinished basement. Okay, get out of there. I'm going to see when it was sold. Okay, 2014. All right, so it's not even helpful to know, much here, but this gives me an idea. So what I'm going to do, though, is because I don't want to have to remember all this size and all that, because it's 1708 Main Ranch on a 700 square foot unfinished basement. Okay, so I'm going to actually print right here, print to PDF. It's going to open up this tab up here. So I've got the details right there. Because remember, if you ever go up here and, say you hit a new tab and open up a new matrix tab like this, then this one goes away. So you have to do some other thing, and this is how I do that, so I can switch back and forth without losing all my work here. So I'm going to go back to results, though. So I'm sitting here. I'm going to copy the subdivision. That's kind of how I always start my searches. Let's just check in that specific subdivision for similar houses. So I'm going to go to search, residential quick. We're going to go down to subdivision, pop it in. Obviously, you can do map searches. Hey, Hunter, I'm making a video, bud. Be quiet for me. Tell mom too. So checking that, and you could do a map where you draw lines. You can do all kinds of stuff, but this is a good way to start. I'm looking for active, pending, and sold in the last 180 days. That's a good way to start. I want to do, it's a single family house. I only want to see for sales. I don't care about leases. Now, interesting here, you're looking for the closest possible option. So it's really unfortunate if you have to factor in for a basement when all the comparables don't. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start by saying, yes, it has a basement. I want to see, because I had 37 matches here. If I went to yes and no, 37. So let's go. It has to have a basement. Okay. And then if I wanted to go, I know it's unfinished. So let's just play. I haven't actually talked to this guy, but let's just assume it's actually still unfinished. So I'm going to go to here and say finished, not. So if somebody's got finished, look at that, it dropped to 7. So 3 of those basements are finished. And I'm not interested in that because I've got an unfinished basement. So these are now better comparables. You don't always have to go that deep into it, but if you've got as many options as I had, then I'm starting to cut the options down by getting some of the big pieces out of the way. Square foot main upper is another good one to use. Beds, baths, I don't worry about too much. There's not a huge price adjustment sometimes for those. Square footage is a big deal though, but I only got 7 now. So I'm going to go ahead and click results up here that I just did. You can see that if I go back here, then I'm looking for 1708 and 700 in the basement. So I'm going to go back to my thing. We got, this is a full-size basement theoretically with similar size and a almost full-size basement, right? Little smaller with a almost full-size basement. So these have got some bigger basements, but there's not a ton of value in the basement. I'm going to say play with $5 to $10 a square foot for basements that are unfinished, if they're usable and nice still, just unfinished. Cellar basements aren't worth hardly anything. Finished basements, depending on where you're at, they may pull $20 to $30 a square foot. It's weird to think about that because that's the appraisal adjustments. They're not very big. Like a pool costs you $100,000 to put in, and we worth 25 on an appraisal. Anyway, so I'm looking at this. I'm gonna go 1637 309. Let's look at the quality. Nice stone, fully remodeled, open concept, absolutely beautiful. Great. So there's the top end. Let's see what the basement's like. Go backwards, you get the basement. So nice, clean, but unfinished. Perfect. All right. Let's see what else we got. We got a $299 here, similar size. Click that guy. Okay, a lot like ours in a lot of respects, except for has long grass. And it's clean but outdated. Okay, good. Now I'm gonna back up. I could have just kept going at that point. See what I've got here for basement. All right, there we go. Just unfinished but usable. That might be in the basement. That is in the basement. So it's not finished as much as it's just got some flooring, but still worth noting. But that's not going to be worth a ton more. That was $300 for a similar size, just a little bit bigger basement. Then we got another one here. You know, we got a 1,400 square footer for $275. We had one for $285 up there. Let's see what my basement's like on this guy. Oh, there's no pictures. That's all the pictures. So that's not super helpful, but we can assume it's in decent shape, I think. Well-maintained basement, blah, blah, blah. So it could be outdated, could not be fine, I don't know. Agent single line, by the way. If I click one of these, what you're going to want to do is go back to agent single line, and that'll take you back to this. Let's just check the 285, 1,300 square feet. Okay, brick and green. That's pretty wild. And terrible photography. And outdated and not even, I mean, mismatched and holy cow. A lot of cabinets, way outdated. All right. That's a pretty decent comp as far as quality to the old pictures. They may have redone ours though, but again, when I'm doing this, I'm just trying to get an idea so I don't show up at the listing appointment like I have no idea what's going on. So we know from this, if I were to just call all the basements even, click on a handful of these that are similar sized, so Burn Court, fully remodeled. Not fully remodeled. It had some decent stuff. I'm just kind of clicking a few of these that seem to match up here on the square footage. They're close enough. Ours is 17, right? I make quick CMA. It's just a fun, another piece to the puzzle I might do. And this is going to show us square feet, main, upper, garages, what's available, how many bedrooms, bathrooms. It's going to show all of it. It'll show the optional square feet, which is your basement. But it's going to calculate list price, sold price, and square footage, but that's only this square footage, you know, so divide this divided by this equals this, or vice versa. This divided by this equals this number. So now we're looking at the sold properties. The average, for instance, is 1,700 square feet with a 1,100 basement at $171 a square foot for list price at $291, sold at $288. So that's good. We're knowing that in general, our 3.2 1,700 with a 700 square foot basement might land in this range, right? The worst is 275, and that was on a house that was smaller than ours. Okay, the best was 299 on a house just about our size. Okay, but then we're looking to quality and all that stuff. So, you know, I would tend to lean towards, we might be up towards 300. It just depends. But you don't want to drop that number on them and then try to talk them off of it. You want to come in conservative, but realistic. You know, I tend to be realistic, but lean conservative. That way they're happier rather than sad. All right. But that's the general way I'm going to look at that. Obviously, I could dive in, we could keep going, and we go, okay, well, we got 700 square feet. This is, you know, this one was 1,100 square feet at $10 a square foot. That's $4,000 difference. So now this is, we have 4,000 less basement. So now this is, you know, $295. And then we have to assess while we're there the quality of ours compared to this one. This was high view. Let's see. $299. Let's see what that one looked like. Yeah, that one was outdated but clean, right? So that's good news. That may be what we're walking into on ours too. So it seems like that size, though, is right here in this range. These haven't sold yet after 18 days on the market. This Canova hasn't sold after being on the market for 91 days, right? So that's why I'm looking at active. What is working? What's not working? A pending could be in here. What worked? How fast did they get it pended? These are helpful, but they're back in the day. We're in a different market. I mean, this one took 1 day, but let's see. It closed in May. Well, that was when it was absolutely super nuts, right? So it sold in 1 day. It pended in 1 day, so that's not going to necessarily apply. What about this one? 10 days is what it was doing, and that was back in July. So this was more in our current market. Took 10 days to pend. They started at $299.9, sold it for $299.9. Okay, so this is a really, really good comp. It's almost the same size. It's a little bigger. It's outdated. It's not completely finished, even though they should have actually marked it as somewhat finished. But either way, it's a pretty good comp. So that's kind of what we're playing with, and I'd be leaning towards 300 unless I found a reason not to. So anyway, that's how I figure out a listing. And obviously you can do this for hours and try to really get down to the nitty gritty, but ultimately I'd be walking in unless I saw something funny. If it was super nice, it might be the one I'm going to list. If it was super nice, it might be a little higher price. If it's super junky, it might be a little lower price, but this is where I'm centering around 300 would be my goal. So there you go. I hope you enjoy.